This is the CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley. Good evening. In the East, millions are without power tonight. In the West, thousands have fled their homes. Rarely do we see the power of wind and fire over so much of the nation at once. The wind came in hurricane force, announced Friday night across the mid-Atlantic by lightning that some described as an artillery barrage. Destruction stretches 600 miles across 10 states. 22 were killed over the weekend, mostly by uprooted trees that had been turned over in 80-mile-an-hour winds. More than 2 million homes and businesses are still without power. Marcia McLeod and her great-granddaughter Michaela Milton found refuge in a Red Cross center in Virginia. In the West, Emmanuel Mgana and his daughter Grace have no home to return to. The wildfire in Colorado leveled their neighborhood. Firefighters are still working to surround those flames. We have several correspondents on these stories tonight. And first, we will go to Chip Reed in Washington, D.C. Chip?
Well, good evening, Scott. The ferocious storm that caused all this damage is known as a derecho. Derecho is Spanish for straight ahead, and that is exactly what this storm did. Moved straight ahead as it carved a 600-mile path of destruction. In less than 10 hours, the storm raced from Indiana to Washington, D.C. Winds at times approached 100 miles an hour, toppling too many trees to count. Trees that took down thousands of power lines, leaving more than 3 million people in the dark. 90 minutes before the storm hit the Washington area, the National Weather Service forecast severe thunderstorms with significant wind damage. Even so, many were caught by surprise.
What is that?
In Lake Ridge, Virginia, witnesses reported fire in the sky. The Weather Service's Katie Garrett says even the experts were impressed by how fast the derecho moved. Derechos are common in the Midwest, but about once every 4 years, one makes it all the way to the East Coast, propelled by powerful jet stream winds.
What happens is you have a wall of wind essentially coming in ahead of the thunder, the lightning, the heavy rain.
Ken Barker is with the Dominion Virginia Power Company. 1 million of their 2.5 million customers lost power in the storm. More than 170,000 are still without lights tonight. Is there any reason to believe that the next storm there will be a smaller number of people who lose power?
This wasn't a very atypical storm, though. This was, in our 100-year history at Dominion, the largest non-hurricane storm we've had. So our hope is we won't have another one for a long time.
With a slow-moving hurricane, Barker says there are days to prepare. But he says with a derecho, by the time you know it's coming, it's too late to do much more than take cover.
We're doing the best we can. We'll continue to get better at it. But again, Mother Nature won on this one.
The National Weather Service predicted severe thunderstorms all along the path of this storm, but Scott, no one predicted a storm this severe.
Thanks, Chip. Many people across 10 states are dealing with a heat wave now with no electricity for air conditioning. We sent Sharyl Attkisson to find them, and she's in Silver Spring, Maryland this evening. Sharyl?
Scott, in this Silver Spring, Maryland neighborhood, a dozen trees lost their battle with the derecho and took the power lines down with them.
Lynn Bales and his wife, who are both hearing impaired, are about to spend their 4th night toughing it out.
No air conditioning, no electricity, and we can't get it.
This is why they can't get out. A giant red oak has fallen on power lines and blocked the only way out for a dozen families on the cul-de-sac. It also uprooted a water main and cut off the water supply. Several elderly are among the marooned.
My next door neighbors, lady across the street, and I tried to say that to Pepco also, thinking that might get us a little bit quicker service, but it hadn't happened yet. So we're just trapped.
We came over here to Garfield.
Tom Graham is the regional president for the power company, Pepco.
Does it seem like too much to expect in the 21st century that when a storm comes through, it doesn't create chaos in the nation's capital?
Well, if trees come down and destroy the infrastructure, that's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, you have to look at this as a catastrophic event.
Oh, yeah. I'm Lynn and Cynthia.
The Bales say the catastrophe has brought out the best in neighbors who are pulling together to help each other.
We have met more neighbors this past week than we have met in the 8 years we've been here.
It'll be Friday before the lights come back on for most of the affected Pepco customers. Pepco says it normally has about 200 workers in the field. Right now, it says it has excess of 2,000, many of them contract workers from other states and other utilities, helping out and working in around-the-clock shifts.
Thanks,
Scott?
Sharyl.